Thank you for reminding me. Hare Krishna. Okay, so yes, Yogeshwar, you can make a start. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Verse 1. Arjuna Uvacha Sannyasam Karmana Krishna Punaryogam Cha Shanshasi Yakshreya Etayorekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishchitam.
Hare Krishna. Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?
Verse 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyasa Karavrubro Tayotsu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate.
The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work.
Verse 3. Geyasa Nitya Sannyasi Yonadvesti na Kanshati Niradvandro hi Mahabaho Sukham Bandhat Pramuchyate.
One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjuna.
Verse 4. Sankhya Yogo Pruthakbala Pravadantina Panditaha Ekamapya Sthita Samagya Ubayor Vindate Krulam Vindate Phalam.
Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, Karma Yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both.
Verse 5. Yat Sankhye Prapyate Sthanam Tado Gairapi Gamyate Ekam Sankhya Cha Yogam Cha Yaha Pashyati Sa Pashyati.
One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are.
Verse 6. Sannyaasastu Mahabaho Dukhamaptu Mayo Yogata Yoga Yukto Munir Brahma Nachirenadi Gacchati.
Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay.
Verse 7. Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriyaha Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma Kurvanapi Na Lipyate.
One who works in devotion, who is pure soul and who controls his mind and sense is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled.
Verses 8 and 9 together. नैव किंचित करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववितः पश्यन् शृण्वन् पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वप्नन् श्वसन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृहन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणि निन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्.
A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them.
Verse 10. Brahmanyadaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yah lipyate nasa papena padma patrami vambasa.
One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action. As the lotus feet is untouched by water.
Verse 11. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalerindriya yerapi yoginah karma kurvanti sangam tyaktvatam shuddhaye.
The yogis, abandoning attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification.
Verse 12. Yuktam karma phalam tyaktva shanti mapnoti naistikim ayuktah kamakarena phale sakto nibadhyate.
The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the results of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of labor, becomes entangled.
Verse 13. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyate sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvan karayan.
When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done.
Verse 14. Na kartutvam na karmani lokasya srujati prabhu na karma phala sanyogam swabhavastu pravartate.
The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruit of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature.
Verse 15. Na datte kasya chit papam na chaiva sukrutam vibhuhu agnanena vrutam gnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha.
Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge.
Verse 16. Gnanena tu tadagnanam yesham nashi tamatmanah tesham aditya vagnanam prakashayati tatparam.
When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which science is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything. as the sun lights up everything in the daytime.
Verse 17. Tad buddhyastadatmanam tannistha satparayanaha gacchantya punaravrittim gnana niraduta kalmashaha.
When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation.
Verse 18. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini shunichaiva swapakecha panditaha samadarshinaha.
The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, an outcast.
Verse 19. Ihaiva taijit sargo yesham samye sthitam manaha nirdosham hi sambrahma tasmad brahmani te sthitaha.
Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in the Brahman.
Verse 20. Na prahasyet priyam prapya no dvijet prapya cha priyam sthira buddhira sammudo brahmavida brahmani sthitaha.
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence.
Verse 21. Bahyasparsheshva saktatma vindatyatmane yat sukham sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham kshayam shushnate.
Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasures within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme.
Verse 22. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukhayonaya evate adyantva vantaha kaunteya nateshu ramate buddhaha.
An intelligent person does not take part in the source of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them.
Verse 23. Shaknoti haiva yaha sodum prakshariram vimokshanat kamakrododbhavam dvegam sayuktaha sa sukhinaraha.
Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world.
Verse 24. Yonta sukhontararamam tathantara jyoti revayah sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto digacchati.
One whose happiness is within, who's active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme.
Verse 25. Labante brahma nirvanam vrushayah kshina kalmashaha chinnadvaita yatatmanah sarva bhute hite rataha.
Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme.
Verse 26. Kam krodha viyuktanam yatinam yat chetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam.
Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future.
Verses 27 and 28. Sparshan krutva bahirbahyan chakshushchaivantare bhuvoho prana papo panau sabau krutva nasabhyantara charino yatendriya manobuddhihi munir moksha parayanaha vigatechaya bhayakrodho yaha sada mukta eva saha.
Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendentalist aiming at liberation becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated.
Verse 29. Bhoktaram yajya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suharudram sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim ruchati.
A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Very, very nice. Shobana Mataji, very nicely recited English, and Yogesh Prabhu, very nice, excellent on Sanskrit. I just wanted to mention just one quick thing, Yogesh Prabhu, in terms of pronunciation. I'm just looking for a typical example here. When you, was it 22? See, when there is an AH in the middle of the verse, I mean, a bit of the line rather, then you don't pronounce that double sound. That's what I wanted to show, but I've lost the examples here. Okay, let me see. I see something quickly. I was seeing them when I was looking. I see the examples coming through here. Wait a second. Okay, so no, not here. Yeah, so if you say ayukta, see that the last third line, Yogesh Prabhu, ayukta kama karena. So if that AH was at the end, then you would say ayuktaha. But because it's not at the end of the line, you would say ayukta kama karena, like that. Yeah. So this is.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Noted.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll just 1 second. Mani, you there? Okay. Toshi needs some help. Right. We just move on to the. Yeah. So we're continuing. Sorry, if anybody was looking forward to listening to the enthusiastic deliverance of the fast by Divanam Prabhu, sorry to disappoint you. I have been asked to substitute on his behalf because he's been busy with the Sankirtan activities. So you will have to put up with me once again today. So yeah, we'll continue reading the 5th chapter, verse 19. You know, I somehow miscalculated. I was working on 18 until I was reminded by Jyoti Mataji that we're actually on 19 today. So we'll just go there. We'll just do the summary as usual. So 1 to 6, Nishkam Karma Yoga, which is easier than pronouncing word. This is Krishna answering Arjun's query about which is better. Then 7 to 12, how to perform Nishkam Karma Yoga. Then 13 to 16, performance, platform of knowledge, rather, platform of knowledge, knowing the 3 doers. Then 17 to 26, liberation by focusing on the super soul. This is the current section that we're on. So talking about liberation, how we can liberate ourselves by focusing on the super soul. So we'll move on to, okay, let me just rearrange my screens here so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, I can't see my the screen. Just bear with me. Okay, I got it. Sorry about that. Okay, so right, so today we're on text 19, as I was saying. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 19. Ihaivate jita sargo yesham samye sthitam manah nirdosham hi samam brahma tashmad brahmani te stitaha. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Purport, it's a short purport. So let's see who I can see here. Somebody who hasn't recited before. So Manamohini Mataji, Manamohini Gopi Mataji, are you able to unmute and read the purport, please?
Yes, Prabhuji, I will. Equanimity of mind, as mentioned above in the sign of self-realization, those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, especially birth and death. As long as one identifies with the body, he is considered a conditional soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of self, he is liberated from conditioned life. In other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such a person are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Manamohini Gopi Mataji. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Papitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swamine Kinamine Snigdha Cheta Supraneta Vajminam Charasaputam Prabhupada Gata Prana Naumi Bhakti Charu Padam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamine Kinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishya Shunyavadi Pashade Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. As usual, we'll just go and take some lines from the purport and try and get on the nectar. So Prabhupada says, equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is the sign of self-realization. When he says, as mentioned above, maybe he's referring to the previous verse where he's talking about 518, Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gati Hastine. So this is basically a person, a Pandita, he's situated in equanimity. So Prabhupada, so, and then he says he's the sign of self-realization. So this is a term, we often hear this term, self-realization, quite regularly, don't we? Everybody is talking about self-realization. So what is the, actually self-realization is the goal for most of the spiritual paths, or any spiritual path, whichever religion you look at, everybody is trying to get to this stage, self-realization. They may call it something different in their particular path, but this is what the goal is. So what is self-realization? So I suppose it takes one to know one. So what I've done is I've taken a few quotes from Srila Prabhupada telling us what, in different ways, what a self-realized soul is. And of course, there's not one definitive description or definition. Is actually lots of different things explained. Prabhupada will say here. Definition of self-realization by Prabhupada, right? So it says self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with me. So this is the basic. We must know who Krishna is, and we must know who we are in his eternal relationship with him. So this is something that Krishna starts Bhagavad Gita right in the beginning. He's teaching us this, that we are a soul and we are part and parcels of the Lord. Then Prabhupada says self-realization means I'm dependent on Krishna. I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. Let me engage myself in the service of Sri Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So this is almost like abhideya, like, now I know what am I supposed to do. I'm doing all these things. So I need to now act in my position as a servitor of Lord Krishna. Then he says self-realization means becoming indifferent to the needs of the gross and subtle bodies and becoming serious about the activities of the self. So again, you see, as we know, 99.9% of the world's population is engaged in doing something for the gross and subtle bodies. And mostly they don't even know about the soul. Most people don't even, some people actually don't even acknowledge the existence of the soul. It's a little bit like, as the Prabhupada often says, it's like, having a beautiful bird in a golden cage, and we keep polishing the cage, but do nothing about the bird. If you don't feed the bird, just polish the cage, the bird is going to be suffering. So that's our position. Self-realization means becoming a pure devotee of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. That's self-explanatory. And Prabhupada says there's about 16 of these, so bear with me. Prabhupada says self-realization means seeing one's proper identity as the infinitesimal jiva. At the present moment, we are seeing the body, but we have no vision of the real person occupying the body. So we need to realize we are Anu, Krishna is Vibhu. Once we know that, then we know how to act. Self-realization means that energy should be transferred for Krishna. So all our energy, instead of using it for our own, trying to maintain our body and enjoy it, we need to transfer our energy to activities to do with Krishna. It means to show that I am not this body. I am a spirit soul. I'm part and parcel of the God. So this is repeated again in different words. One who self-realized knows that all mundane emotions have nothing to do with the pure soul, whose natural propensity is to engage in the loving service of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So all the mundane emotions, whatever we're going through now, and we'll speak a bit more about that, happiness, distress, hate, love, all that, which is on the mundane platform, has nothing to do with the pure soul. Prabhupada continues, one who self-realized is not bewildered by the birth and death of the material body, knowing himself to be eternal. So as devotees, once we have realized that we are the soul, then we are not too concerned about this birth and death situation. We know that, yes, okay, we are not, what is taking birth is the body, not the soul. We try and make sure that we don't come back to this world and don't come, at least make a start this life to stop this cycle of birth and death. Maybe it will take us a few more lifetimes to actually come to the final stop, but at least make a start. When one becomes self-realized, two things are conspicuous by absence. No more hankering and no more lamenting. These are for material things. So when we are self-realized, we actually stop doing this, because otherwise most of our life we spend doing these two things. We're hankering for what we don't have, and we lament for what we had and we lost. But the way of material life, as you know, is everything is temporary. You will have something today, and tomorrow it'll be gone, it'll be finished. A self-realized person knows that this material cosmic manifestation is a temporary, illusory representation appearing to be the truth. So this is more expanded in the 15th chapter, where Krishna will give the analogy about the banyan tree. The real banyan tree being the spiritual world, and the material world being a reflection, a perverted reflection of that spiritual world. And then Prabhupada says, a self-realized person knows quite well that material happiness is the very cause of continued material existence and forgetfulness of one's constitutional position. See, when materially we are happy, we are less likely to think about God. This is a reality. People come to the temple when they're in trouble, mostly. I'm not saying always, but mostly. So this is why the famous prayers by Queen Kunti, saying to Lord Krishna, please always give me dukhs when we are in distress, at least we have your association. So here we can see that by being happy, we forget Krishna. So this is why that makes our journey longer and longer, the journey of birth and death. Last four, I think. When one is self-realized, he becomes joyful because he is free from the material contamination of lamentation and hankering. So again, this is expressed in different words. A self-realized person automatically gives up everything irrelevant to his spiritual advancement. So one who is serious in devotional service gives up anything that is not beneficial for his spiritual life. Anukulyena sankalpa pratikulyena varjita. Accept everything that is favorable for our devotional service and reject everything that is not favorable for our devotional service. A self-realized person sees all the living entities equally. So this is what actually this particular section of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, we're going through this. We need to see all living entities equally, in the sense that we don't see the body, we see the soul. When you see a particular body, we realize that the person's got that body because of his previous karma, but he is a soul. When somebody's behaving in a certain way, we also know that he's behaving in that way because of his impressions from his previous life and his sanskaras, but actually he is still a pure soul beneath all that. A self-realized person is always engaged in Krishna consciousness. Goes without saying. So this is self-realization. So what I've done for this particular verse, I'm focusing on two words: self-realization, and the other word is equanimity. See how you can sort of get more out of that. So Prabhupada is saying here, as long as one identifies with his body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of the self, he is liberated from the conditioned life. So the soul is conditioned, the pure soul is pure. Just as rainwater, when it leaves the clouds, it is absolutely pure. It's been distilled by the sun. The sun evaporates the water from a filthy place, or even from the sea when it's all salty water, but it's distilled by the heat. It turns into vapor, it turns into clouds, and then moves along, and then by the wind, and then it is dropping pure water. But then those drops of water, as they come into the material sky, is contaminated. Materially speaking, literally speaking, it is contaminated by the pollutions in the air. And also finally, when it hits the ground, it's polluted by whatever's on the ground, all the dirt and dust. So similarly, the soul, the pure soul coming from the spiritual world, as soon as it enters into the material world, it is contaminated by the three modes of nature. And this is called conditioning. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, text 5. It says the material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And when the living entity, when the pure living entity, eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, it becomes conditioned by these modes. So the living entity, because of the conditioning, this is what the state of the living entity becomes. So this is explained in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter, text 10, very early on. This is Naimisharanya, and the sages headed by, I forget the name. Who was the sage who was heading the Naimisharanya sages?
Sutta Goswami Prabhu.
No, Sutta Goswami was speaking. He was answering the questions. But the
Saunak Rishi.
Saunak Rishis, thank you. We speak about him so often, but I completely, right now, it left my mind. Okay, so Saunak Rishi is saying this. He's saying that this is our condition of the conditioned souls. Prayana Paryusha Sabhya Kalavasmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanta Mataya Manda Bhagya Hipatata. O learned one, addressing Sutta Goswami, he says, in this iron age of Kali, men are almost always but short-lived. They have always short life, sorry. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always troubled, always disturbed. So this is the situation of every living entity. Because of contamination of the modes, these are the conditionings that he's getting. Right? Because of his identification. When he is conditioned by the modes, he then identifies with his body, and that is what we call false ego. So then in text in Bhagavad Gita 2:15, Prabhupada, Krishna says, Yamhina vyathapantyate purusham purusharsava sama dukha sukham tiram so mritya mritvaya kalpate. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. So this is what the verse we are handling today. That is what we're talking about. So he is talking about sukha dukkha, but all dualities, happiness, distress, whatever, all the things that we are troubled with, heat and cold, whatever. So all these dualities, we must learn to remain steady in any condition. And this is where we become eligible for liberation. This Amrita Tvaya, that means liberation. Mritya means death, Amrita means no death. So that is, so now dukkha, sukha are opposite in nature. So in the last verse, it is said, the verse was done yesterday, that Pandita Samadarshina, that a wise person sees both equally. So the wise person is meant to see sukha and dukkha equally. So how would we see this? Can somebody say, how can somebody see dukkha, sukha equally. They are completely diametrically opposite. How can one see them as one, as equal? Anybody?
Is it when once his divine consciousness, is attachment to bodily pleasure is situated?
Yes. So what exactly? Once you get into divine situation, then you recognize that actually these two are equal. But there's a bit more to that. Can you maybe expand on that? Okay. How it works is that once what changes is that right now we are saying dukkha and sukha as very real, and we are feeling it, and we are seeing it as two extremes. Like we can feel extreme happiness, we can also feel extreme sadness, or depending on circumstances. But what really happens when we finally reach the stage of spiritual perfectness, then we will realize the truth that we actually know. We all know that these things are temporary. Isn't it? Matra sparsha koteya sitosha dukkata in 2:14, Krishna says. So we know that these things are temporary. But that is, at the moment, is just knowledge. It's just book knowledge for us. But when we realize that knowledge, that is when we see them together, because then we actually totally in our minds realize that these two things are temporary. Both of them are material, and both of them are temporary. Therefore, as a soul, I have nothing to do with them. And this is why we actually realize that actually there's no point becoming morose when something goes wrong, no point being elated when something goes good, because both of those things are going to be temporary. A few verses down, we will be speaking about this same thing. So it's better to follow the path of spiritual knowledge, because when we follow the path of spiritual knowledge, it is forever happiness. In spiritual knowledge, we don't see ups and downs. Once you're fixed in that knowledge, we are fully established in happiness. And this is explained in Bhagavad Gita 9:2. Anybody know this verse, 9:2? The Rajavidya verse. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshavaganam Dharmam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. Krishna is saying this knowledge, talking knowledge about this knowledge, the king of education, talking about knowledge about spiritual activities, is the most secret of all secrets. Why is it secret? It's there in the Bhagavad Gita, but it is secret because most people don't know it. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. So this is the way to be. Remain in devotional service with a pure heart, and we will always remain happy. So I put on the part of the purport, but it's more or less repeating what we've already said. So we move on in view of time. So another place, but in the Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 17, Lord Shiva is speaking to Parvati. This is a pastime where Chitraketu was cursed by Parvati. And Chitraketu, because he was already in a pure consciousness, he was completely equipoised with this curse. He said, fair enough, no problem. I'll accept your curse. And Parvati Mata was quite surprised at the way Chitraketu accepted this verse. And this is when Lord Shiva speaks this verse. He says, Narayana parasarve na kutaschana bhibyati Swargapa varga narkeshva apitulyartha darshana. So he says, devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same, for such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. So you see, they may be a devotee, maybe if he hasn't perfected his devotional life, but he's acted really piously, maybe he'd be promoted to the heavenly planets, but he's not really overjoyed by that. if he's not even overjoyed, if he's sent to the hellish planets, he doesn't really mind, doesn't care. He wants to just focus on his devotion service. He's not distressed by that. And if he's liberated, for them it's not so important. For him, what's important is devotion service. So here Prabhupada, the Prabhupada is saying, Parvati might naturally have inquired how devotees become so exalted. Therefore, this verse explains that they are Narayana Para, simply dependent on Narayana. They do not mind reverses in life because in the service of Narayana, they have learned to tolerate whatever hardships they may be. They do not care whether they are in heaven or hell. They simply engage in the service of the Lord. This is their excellence. Anukulyana Krishna, Anukulyana Krishna Anushiladam. They are liberally engaged in the service of the Lord, and therefore they are excellent. This is where we need to try and be. Another verse talking about how one who's in that position, one who is able to remain like that, how he becomes totally eligible to go back to Godhead. And this is from the Bhagavatam, the Brahma Vimohan Lila. We all know about the Brahma Vimohan, when Lord Brahma is not means that little boy who is actually sharing food with his friends and eating jutta foods and everything. He came with the Lord, and he then tested the Lord by stealing all the cows and the cowherd boys. And we know the whole pastime, but at the end, when he realizes, in this picture, you can see he's offering prayers to Lord Krishna, and he says, Tattenu kampam susamekshamano punjana evatmakritam vipakam vidvagvapubir vidadang namaste jive tayo muktipade sadaya bha. Very nice verse, this one, very reassuring. It says, my dear Lord, the Lord, Brahma is saying to Krishna, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with the heart, words, and with heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So it becomes your right, once we behave like this, that we don't blame anybody for our sufferings. We know that it's happening because of our past misdeeds. We are completely aware of that. And we just simply engage in devotional service, waiting for Krishna's mercy, patiently, not being in any hurry, patiently waiting. So for him, Mukti Pade Sadaya Part. For him, Mukti is standing there, in some other place, in the 10th canto, it is said, no, it's the 7th canto actually. Oh, sorry, it's not even in the Bhagavatam. This is Bilva Thakur's prayers in Krishna Karnamrit, where he says, Mukti Swayam Mukilitanjali Sevate Swan. That Mukti stands with folded hands for those devotees who are in this situation. So there's one more slide, but time is running away. Let me see if I can cover it quickly. Okay, this is just covering the last part of the purport. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated. So this is, so to be liberated, one doesn't have to wait for the time to leave this body. One can be liberated even whilst in this body. If you become this situation, if you become free from attraction and hatred, all these dualities, once we are above those dualities, then we are, even within this body, we can be liberated. So here in this verse, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1287, it says, Iha yasya hare dasya karmana manasagira nikhilasva pyavastasu jivan muktasa uchyate. So it says, anyone who by his actions, mind, and words lives only for the transcendental loving service of the Lord is certainly a liberated soul, even though he may appear to be in a condition of material existence. So we may be in this body, but we're just basically waiting for our remainder of karmas to wash away so we can then leave. Or we are not at all attached to anything material, completely oblivious to everything material. So before I end, Divyanand Prabhu asked me to make a couple of announcements. So firstly, Dharma Pack, there was a message on this group, several messages, so we all know about it. Great opportunity, obviously book distribution month, people who can't go out because of the health reasons or because of COVID or whatever, because you're scared of being out there, fair enough, it's a valid reason, but there's another way that we can get involved. We have this beautiful Dharma Pack. There's a pack of 7 wonderful books. These 7 books can actually change somebody's life. And these are not big books, because you can see in this picture. So you can gift a pack to your friends, your family. You don't need to even do anything. You can either gift a pack to your friend, or you can just sponsor them. You can just sponsor them so that they will be given out to whoever deserves them. So we place them in hospitals, in nursing homes, libraries, schools, etc., etc. So there is a link here, very simple, krishnatemple.com/Dharma Pack, DHARMAPACK. What I'll do is I'll put this link on the chat later, so you can have a look. So yes, so you can sponsor on that. It's a very simple form. Just go in there and sponsor a number of packs you want to sponsor. And so there are 2 ways. One is you buy the sets yourself to give to your friends. Secondly, just sponsor them so the temple can place them on your behalf. So these books can really change people's lives. The second announcement was that tomorrow, so this program is going on because of the different time differences. It's a worldwide program going on, World Gita Day. Europe will be tomorrow from 5:30 p.m. to 6:15 p.m. So it's only about 45 minutes. So in this poster, which is posted on the chat groups, there is a link. So please, devotees, go and log in and just support the European effort on book distribution. So I will stop now, devotees, and I will invite any questions, comments, realizations, corrections.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Varsha Mataji.
How much is the pack, Prabhuji?
The pack, I believe, is £12.
And the postage, please?
So £12 includes. So if you are sponsoring, then of course they take care of whatever transportation. But if you want to buy them for yourself, because from memory, I know you don't live nearby, right?
No, I live in Yorkshire, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
I live very far. That's
yeah.
why I can't come and help.
Yeah, no problem. So you can help this way. You can try and sponsor some and get some sets to give to friends. So I know it's £12. And if you want to know the exact cost, if you go to the website www.ideaseeds, so idea like in idea, seeds.com, you will find them there, and you'll have all the details there.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu is online, I think. Chandra Chaitanya, do you have any idea about the cost maybe to get the Dharma packs to Yorkshire?
Sorry, Prabhu, could you repeat that question for me?
Yeah, Varsha Mataji, who lives in Yorkshire, was asking that if she buys some sets for her friends, what is the delivery cost for Yorkshire?
Yeah, we can post them via courier, Hermes courier. That's what we normally do. We have orders already online, and we have shipped them already. So yes, if she goes to ideaseeds.org,
yeah,
she will get, I think even on the link that is provided on this message that you posted just now,
yeah,
we will get that and we will post it. It doesn't matter whether it's in London or anywhere else in the UK, it's not a problem.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So it's actually, Varsha Mataji, it's not .com, it's .org, or organization, org.
Okay, I'll have a look at on that pamphlet.
Thank you so much.
I'll go and look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And anybody else? Okay, we got a question in the chat from Surabhi Mataji. Surabhi Mataji says, Lord is without attraction, hatred. Will some groups of ignorant people still perceive the mercy of Lord as hatred to some, mercy to some? I seem to not get past this question last few months. Yes, because we were actually addressing it last Tuesday as well, weren't we? So the Lord, yes, Lord is completely fair. He says, I hate no one, I love no one. In one sense, so we can say that because everybody is his children, so he loves them equally. So often different examples are given. So the way we can say it, he provides for everybody. The Lord equally provides all the natural amenities for everybody. So he's fair. He's not only giving rain to people he favors, but he gives rains to everybody. For example, he gives light and sun and heat to everybody. So that's one way. And in the other sense, the Lord, although he is equal to all, and he's not partial, but in having it, in looking at it a different way, he's still partial to his devotees. And the example I gave last time was that a father, a king has to be impartial. So he will be impartial to all his citizens, but they will be partial. There's natural partiality when it comes to his own children, his own sons. So he's not going to choose, generally speaking, I'm saying, he will not appoint a prince from somewhere outside. He will generally appoint one of his sons as his prince. So that one may say that he's partial, otherwise, he should not be doing that. But no, but that is normal. A father may be very loving to all the children, but he will be definitely partial. This is just nature, that he will be partial to his own children. So like that. So in that sense, the Lord, yes, he doesn't hate or love anybody, but he is partial to his own devotees. And that is also good, because that gives us the encouragement to engage in devotional service so that we can have his mercy. So he will give his mercy abundantly to people who are serving him. So we'll be happy people are more attracted to religious groups as they did themselves God's favorites. Sorry for, yeah. So yes, so this is why if you're attached in devotional service, you are counted amongst souls who are close to his heart, because you've turned to him, right? He is waiting for everybody to turn to him. That way he's impartial. He wants all of us to turn to him. But those who actually do turn to him, of course, he'll open his arms and hug them. So this is you're quite right. It can be ambiguous, but there's a subtle difference, subtle way to understand that, he is impartial, but yet he is partial. So achintya bheda bhedat. What about the unhappy ones who don't identify? So so people, this is why we always, the devotees are always praying and always compassionate for people who are lost, the souls who haven't turned to Krishna. That the devotees will always pray for them, and because we fortunately by getting in touch with Prabhupada books and by getting in touch with devotees, we have found the path. So we are making our steps in the right direction. But then people who haven't realized it, and people who are not turning towards Krishna, we pray for them. There's a devotee who in Chaitanya Lila, Mukunda-Hari, he actually offers prayers to Lord Chaitanya. He's saying to Lord Chaitanya that I don't want the only one to be liberated. I want all the people in the world who are suffering to be liberated. And if it takes to forgive them, if it takes that you can take all their sins away and put them on my account, please do so, because I don't mind suffering alone if all of them can go back. This is also similar to what Prahlad Maharaj is saying. Prahlad Maharaj in the end was being offered boons, and he says, no, I don't care about myself. I want all my demon friends who are lost in this world to be liberated. So this is the compassion of the devotees.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
thank you, thank you. Shalaja Mataji, thank you for your encouragement. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just had some questions coming in from a few of my friends today on how the surrenderance in this life are starting to chant for the very beginners who are accepting Krishna consciousness. So how will the chanting and accept surrenderance to the God, to the Lord, can change their destiny and get them rid of some potential problems they're facing currently?
Shalaja Mataji, I'm not quite sure how, if I got the question, how are you saying, how will chanting and surrender happen? Or
Surrender will help them.
how will it help them? Oh my God, yes. Yes, that's an amazing question. So first of all, chanting. So chanting, especially in this age of Kali, we of course, there are so many mantras, the Vedas are full of mantras, the Upanishads are full of mantras, and there are tons and tons of mantras. We don't, especially in the age of Kali, we don't have the brain power or the memory to recite or memorize all of them. So being very merciful, the Lord has given us this one mantra, Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This one mantra, it is said that in the age of Kali, this is the Maha Mantra. This one mantra can deliver us if we chant it with faith. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Shikshastakam prayers, he says, Cheto darpana marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. This chanting of the Maha Mantra. He says, Cheto Darpana Majanam. So the mirror of our heart, which has been covered with dust from so many lifetimes, is cleansed by the chanting of the holy name. So as the mirror of the dust is cleansed, which means all our anarthas are being reduced, are being washed away. And as the anarthas are being washed away, then our attachment, our surrender to the Lord becomes easier. We are not able to surrender to the Lord because our anarthas are coming in way. So once we're chanting regularly, these anarthas are going away. And then our surrender becomes easier. And as we surrender to the Lord, our spiritual path becomes smoother and smoother. It is like the anchor. Right now, all of us are in a boat with our anchor very much attached to the shore. But by chanting these mantras and by gradually surrendering unto the Lord, the anchor is off and our boat will then start moving forward much faster in our spiritual life. So this is the main key, chanting the Lord's names.
Can it change the destiny, Prabhuji, to some extent?
Not to some extent, to a great extent. You know, destiny is there, but the chanting of the holy name and devotional practices definitely change the destiny. You know, it is also said one time, or somebody saying to me that when kirtan is going on, right? Now we say in our hand we have the rekha, we have our lines, we have a destiny, right? We have everything mapped out in the palm of our hand. They are our lines. But by clapping, when during kirtan, when we clap, these lines are changing just by that spiritual action. So yes, our destiny can be changed by devotional service. Destiny cannot be changed by anything material, but it can be changed by spiritual, because destiny is in the hand of the Lord Krishna, and he can arrange for anything to happen.
Fabulous. That was the I was looking for that answer, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so there's some more questions coming. I'm not sure. Okay, here says we are exposed to all living entities with equality and be compassionate. But if a moth or mosquito enters our house, should we let it live and attack us? Yeah. So yes, of course, we have to be. It says that yes, you have to see every living entity equally, but that doesn't mean that you go and try and hug a tiger, because the result won't be good. So yes, we have to understand that right now, that particular living entity in your example, that mosquito or a moth is in that body. It is a soul. So we recognize that mosquito or moth as that living spark, which is the same spark that's within my body. But I recognize that right now he is in a body where he's conditioned to attack me. That is his conditioning. So I can't change his nature. You can't change his nature, right? So you can't also allow it to keep attacking you, because you will get disease, you get malaria or whatever, right? So what you have to do, you have to take precautions in terms of have a mosquito net, as they have in India, or you somehow or the other get that mosquito or moth out. For example, when we have ants, when we in the summer, sometimes in our home, we get an ant attack. So we have lines and lines of these tiny ants coming. So we know they're more or less harmless, but they will pollute. They get into your food and everything. So we try and get rid of them. So we don't kill them. We do not use ant powder, because these are all living souls. We don't want to kill them. So what we do is very gently with a brush and pan, we actually sweep them up and then put them out. So they're still living, but they're out in the garden. And they're still coming back, and we still keep doing it. So this is what we do. So we're compassionate in that sense, that we don't take their life, we don't kill them, because what happens is, although they're in an ant's body, we need to let that soul continue its natural journey in that particular body. Otherwise, that soul, if you interrupt its life halfway when it's not supposed to be dead, it'll have to start as life again as an ant. So we are doing a big disservice to it. So best to let it live out that life. So put it out, don't kill it. But this is why, this is how we do. You of course do whatever you can to protect yourself, but don't they attack us because that's their nature, right? It's not our nature to attack them. Hope that answered the question. This was from Jay Prabhu. Yeah, thank you. Surabhi Mataji is saying, will surrender to God change anything except we just accept this? Oh yeah, so we just spoke about that destiny, right? Yeah, things will not change overnight. Yes, over time. If the speed at which things will change, Surabhi Mataji, is very, very individual. I may have layers and layers of thick dust on the mirror of my heart. So it may take me millions of lifetimes to get to where you may be, because your layer may be very thin, and you may be there in just one lifetime. So it very individual. How long it takes, again, we have to be patient. As long as we're on this path, forget about when it will happen, enjoy the journey, and one day it will happen. But even that thick, doesn't matter how thick the layer is, if the mercy comes from a pure devotee, the thickest layers can be destroyed in a moment. So both is possible.
But it takes a real big heart to accept all our misfortunes as mercy or kindness of the Supreme. It takes real high level intelligence, I think. Common people like me, I think we'll just be in that frame, why me mode. But yeah, I can now understand, it takes a real high level of, I think, understanding that misfortunes and whatever we face is actually Lord's or the Supreme Light's mercy. I mean,
yeah. See, understanding it is easy. You can read the books and understand it, but then to realize it and practice it, that takes time. And that takes, what happens is that you can get more firmer on that path by associating with people who are higher on that path, who are almost there, or who are already arrived. By associating with people who are in that situation, we can also get to learn how to do this.
So you
but
don't
yes, it is
actually,
possible.
but it's very tough, to see all the misfortunes as actual kindness shown by the Supreme Light. So yes, I can understand it takes a I think it takes a
Absolutely.
lot of work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Pranam,
much, devotees.
pranam. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. It's 9 o'clock almost, devotees. So thank you so much, all. Thank you for your time. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam
Patitan
pavanebhyo
Bhavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Hare Krishna
Prabhupada
Prabhu.
ki
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Prabhuji, for the wonderful
Prabhuji,
Thank you,
Hare
teaching.
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Wonderful,
Krishna.
Thank you,
wonderful
Prabhu. Hare
session.
Krishna, Vipati.
Thank you,
You all.
Prabhuji.
Krishna
Thank
Prabhu,
you.
thank you.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
everyone.
Krishna,
Hare
thank you so
Krishna.
much.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare
Wonderful
Krishna,
class,
Mukesh
Prabhuji.
Bhai.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Umila Ben. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Masha
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Okay, she's gone. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Umila Ben.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Okay.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jyoti Mataji. Thank you once again for your wonderful service, Jyoti Mataji. It's so nice that everybody is able to get recordings if they missed the class. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.